Hey, this is Wes from PC Gamer at E3 2014, and I'm here with Kevin Bruner, president of Telltale. How's it going, Kevin?
Very well. How are you doing?
I'm good. So you just showed us the first demo of Tales from the Borderlands, your new adventure series. Let's just start. Can you give me kind of an overview of how you and Gearbox ended up deciding to do an adventure game, story game about Borderlands?
Sure. So we were at the VGAs a couple of years ago, where Walking Dead was doing really well and Borderlands was doing really well. And we were kind of talking at that event and afterwards, and a lot of Telltale people know a lot of Gearbox people. It's kind of a small industry. And the idea kind of hatched from there, and it was like, wouldn't it be great to do a Telltale-style game in the Borderlands world? And you know, it just kind of organically kind of grew up and gained some momentum, and then here we are. We're actually doing it now.
So in the demo, you guys talked about how it seemed like a strange choice, but the Gearbox actually had a ton of story material, story Bible material, you know, background stuff that you don't really see in the Borderlands games, but it's all narrative that they created. Were there any specific ideas they had or things in the story Bible that when you saw it, you're like, oh, that's what we want our game to be about?
Their story Bible is so rich. They have so much backstory for everything that's going on in the Borderlands world. It's just super impressive on just how deep and kind of thick it is. So we're trying to hit on as much of that as we can. So we have the new characters that you play that aren't Vault Hunters that kind of really get you exposed to kind of what it's like to live on Pandora and deal with all the crazy stuff that's happening on Pandora. So there wasn't like one particular thing that we saw in the story Bible that was like, that's what we're going to anchor everything around. It's just tons and tons of stuff.
Can you talk a little bit about the action scenes? The one we saw kind of had you fighting some guys, and it was very, very slapstick. Was it a different perspective to try to create those kind of scenes versus what you have in The Walking Dead or Wolf Among Us? That's, you know, you don't have guns so much in those games. So
yeah, trying to do action scenes in a Telltale way has been a big deal for us, and I think when you look at the history of our games, we keep wanting to put action in because with Borderlands there's going to be shooting and explosions and giant robots, but there's, you know, we don't want to just have you go around and shoot everything. We want it to be character development and plot based. So over the years we've gotten a lot better at presenting action, and this is really cool action that's in here. I mean, it's just bandits running around everywhere, and it feels like you're in a Borderlands level or a Borderlands movie. But you're playing it kind of in a Telltale way. So I think this is kind of the peak of the mountain for us right now on how action scenes work, and we just keep getting better and better at it.
Was there any crossover from the teams who work on The Walking Dead, and were they super glad to be able to make a game where some funny things happen and it's not just terribly grim and depressing?
Yes and yes. Yeah, we're a growing studio, but we're still a real tight-knit group. So there's a lot of the people work on everything all the time. There's a core group that kind of owns everything, but the studio at large is always working on everything at the same time. And a lot of people don't know that a lot of Telltale's history is based in comedy. Like, we did a lot of comedy games.
Like Sam and Max, etc.
Sam and Max, Homestar Runner, even like back to Wallace and Gromit and things like that. So we've been in kind of this very grim, down mood with Walking Dead for a long time, and Wolf Among Us is a very serious kind of piece. So getting back to being able to do something that's a little funnier, that you can put a gag in, has been awesome. It kind of gets us back to our roots.
Are you going to be going grim again with Game of Thrones? Is there anything you tell us about upcoming projects?
We're not really talking about Game of Thrones, but Thrones is, we'll say, less inclined to comedy and definitely more inclined to hacking people's heads off. So.
Cool. So when are we going to be able to play Tales from the Borderlands? Have you settled on the price for the episodes and all that stuff?
I don't think we're announcing release dates right now, but it's coming in the fall or in the winter. And as far as pricing goes, we haven't officially said anything, but it'll be your typical Telltale series, 5 episodes. And, well, I'll let Steve talk about the pricing.
All right, Kevin, thanks for taking some time to talk to me, and I hope you have a good rest of the E3.